Our guests are getting ready to stage the musical The Addams Family at the Carriageworks Theatre in Leeds City Centre. It's a first in terms of The Addams Family for Leeds. After a few years on Broadway, I think Clancy actually mentioned she'd been to Broadway, the show was released to a limited number of amateur societies. LIDOS, the wonderfully named Leeds Insurance Dramatic and Operatic Society. We're lucky, I can't even say it, we're lucky, it's this beard getting in the way, we're lucky enough to secure a licence to put on the show. It's a musical comedy featuring all the well-known characters from the TV show. So if I think TV, Carolyn Jones was Morticia in the 60s TV series, of course Angelica Houston in the 90s films, and it's Jane Collins who's playing the part of Morticia. Lovely to see you again, Jane. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you.
And the last time you met me, you thought I didn't have a beard. It was just a much and I said, unless we'd met when I was 20, I would have had a beard, but it probably was a more abbreviated beard.
It was quite trimmed, I think.
It probably was, yeah. So there we are. So now you've heard Basil Brush discussing it. What a day for both of us. Bryan Craven is directing the show. How are you, Bryan?
I'm very well, thank you.
Lovely to see you. And look at this. One of these three has got a moustache, which means it must be the person playing Gomez. It's Garry Darbey. How are you, Garry?
I'm fine, thank you.
Do you normally sport a moustache?
No.
I don't know why. I had a feeling you didn't. What's it like having one for the purposes?
It's okay. It takes me a little while to grow nowadays, getting on a bit. But the wife doesn't like it.
On the radio, we're all, young and youthful, all that sort of stuff.
So this is going to be coloured, is it, presumably?
Yes.
So this is to stop any of those kind of falling off under the light of the heat of the lights moments.
That's correct, yes.
And that does, Bryan, bring us on, in a sense, to one of the challenges, I imagine, of doing this show, which is one we all have an image of, isn't it?
Indeed, it is a major problem, because everybody has a preconceived idea of what the Addams Family characters look like, and we have to deliver that. When the curtains first open, they see the entire family, and hopefully everybody will say, oh yeah, that's the Addams Family. And
so you're wanting that immediately, are you?
That's exactly what we want. Yeah. That's what we're trying to achieve. As they open, it's the family gates of the Addams Family graveyard, and they're all stood there, and that's what we expect. We want people to say, yes.
Jane, what sort of show is it? Because you and I last met, you were Little Voice, and funnily enough, Little Voices are at the West Yorkshire Playhouse opening next week, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just a fantastic musical. It's got everything. It's funny. It's got great music. I mean, brilliant characters to play. Morticia, strong, independent woman who wears the trousers, which I'm kind of used to, I think. And just brilliant, fantastic parts.
You're clearly relishing it.
I do, yeah.
And what are the songs like, then?
There's some really funny songs. I mean, Festa, the part of Festa's got some fantastic songs and plays a ukulele. We've got some great I've got a big sort of Hollywood number when I'm looking forward to death.
All about funerals.
All about funerals, and Gary's got some very brilliant songs as well.
What are you looking forward to particularly then, Garry?
Just basically just getting on stage and being Gomez again, because I've actually done this one in December last year.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, in Bradford, and absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. So it was great to go along to the auditions for LIDOS and be accepted with this great company.
Did you grow them?
I didn't know it was a musical. It's the first time I've heard of it as a musical. So, I know my musicals and I know my Addams Family. Why have I not heard about it?
I think I'm right in saying, Bryan, this is the first time it's been staged in Leeds.
It is, and I have to say, I saw it on Broadway.
Right back at you.
Jane and I once went to the Panto in Bradford. So that's an interesting point that Clancy makes, because we think of it as TV, we think of it as film, we don't necessarily think of it as musical, do we?
No, I don't think many people in the UK do. And it's very strange for a major musical like this not to play the West End and then tour. It's the first one I've ever known that's come straight from America to amateur theatre, so not many people will know it, and hopefully they'll be extremely surprised, because as Jane says, the music is extremely catchy.
So who's it composed by then? Who's put the show together? Yeah, probably you haven't got your notes. Somebody will reach for a programme. I shouldn't have asked that question.
I think Jane's got a flyer.
Thank goodness she's got a flyer with her. But in terms, Garry, of doing shows with different companies, so you're in Bradford, you came and auditioned for this, that must be quite an interesting experience in its own right, isn't it? Because people do things very differently.
Exactly. I mean, I started with the Bradford Youth Players and progressed from there to...
You brought age up again, you see.
Yeah, well, I had to leave those because I was no longer a youth, and I just progressed to other companies. And I was with LIDOS back in the late 80s, and I had to go back to Bradford and do shows with companies in Bradford. And it's just great to come back and see some of the old faces again.
Jane was very well prepared. She did have all the information in her bag. So now we can spontaneously tell you who wrote the show.
Well, the book was written by Marshall Brickman and Rick Ellis, and the music and lyrics by Andrew Lipper.
Right. I don't know if any of us, sadly, are any the wiser after that.
No, but it won't help.
No, which is interesting. Which again is an interesting point, because so many musicals are written by people who've become household names through writing.
Indeed, I promise you, don't worry about who wrote it. You'll love the music.
But it's sad that it happens a lot now in theatre that unless you are an established name, there's no routine kind of for the big musical type. Numbers and things like that. There's no routine unless you are a well-known name.
The last show which you did was hugely well reviewed. Peter Sanderman, our other theatre expert, went to see it, and he started his review by saying, yes, it's an amateur company in the sense that the people don't act or perform full-time, but this, by any standards, is a professional show. I know people, whenever I give a talk, are interested by what the many performers we hear on this programme do. What is your day job then, Garry? You're not performing.
I'm a bar person.
You're a bar person?
Yes.
Jane, remind us what you do.
I've just formed a company with a friend. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it.
Well, I'm sure you could sneak in. What sort of business are you in?
It's teaching drama to children, Key Stage 1 and 2, called Act 1 Beginners. And, it's going really well.
Well, that seems very appropriate, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And what about you, Bryan? To direct a show like this, I mean, you're drawing an awful lot of skills together, aren't you?
Well, I actually retired. I don't do anything.
So you're definitely not in youth theatre?
No. I used to be. I used to manage IT projects for Leeds City Council. So I suppose as a project manager...
Yeah, now you manage this lot.
Stay
for a few moments longer. Let's have a travel update. 3:31. 3:32, it is Theatre Thursday, halfway point this afternoon. Let's just have the final words from our guests this afternoon. From LIDOS, the Leeds Insurance Dramatic and Operatic Society are producing the Addams Family next week. And then we'll meet from Brighouse, Megan Moon and Adele Robbins. I won't say a lot more, but when you hear her, you'll know she's not from Brighouse. They are two of the stars of Giselle, which is being staged at St George's Hall in Bradford over the next couple of days by the English Youth Ballet. So, really busy afternoon. Loving your company today. Clancy Walker, our theatre expert, is here. Fully clothed, you'll be glad to know still. 81333 leads at the start of the message. So, Jane, one thing I love is you going, say, from little voice to playing a role I associate with, wow, wonderful actresses. Morticia, that was a dream to get your hands on as a part, isn't it?
Just the thing is that you grab these opportunities when you can, because as you're getting older, you can't always.
You don't need to age up.
But you know, it's just a fantastic part, and to play someone. I found her quite taxing, difficult to do, because she never smiles really, and I'm quite a smiley person, so I've had to kind of forget about all that and get a deeper voice, and it's just been it's just a great experience.
Do you like the look? Do you like getting...
Yeah, I've got a fabulous wig. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
You clearly like the look, Garry. This is Garry who's Gomez, Garry Darbey.
Yes. It's what's been the most taxing for me is the getting the voice, because he's actually of Spanish descent. So
can you do us a little bit of the voice?
I had to mention that, didn't I? Let me see. What could I say from
the opening scene?
The opening scene. Yeah, basically the opening scene. He says they're walking out into the graveyard, the Addams family's graveyard, and basically he just says, the intoxicating smell of the graveyard.
We like that. We like works for Clancy. I tell you. And how far off are we? Are you still in that sweaty palm state, Bryan? Bryan is directing the show, or are we fairly collected?
I'll be in sweaty palm state until next Saturday night. We've had a really good week of rehearsals, and
very good.
They are really well prepared. We're going to supply them with some of the set tonight, so it'll go downhill tonight.
Absolutely. That's encouraging, isn't it? Bryan Craven is directing the Addams Family, brought to you LIDOS, from next Tuesday, 9th of June, through to a week on Saturday, the 13th of June. Carolyn Jones in the TV series, Angelica Houston in the 90s films, but forget all of them. Jane Collins in this new version at the Carriageworks Theatre next week, and Garry Darbey as Gomez. Lovely to see you all. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks very much.